I've spent well over $2 million in my career on leads. They are expensive, but ultimately they are an investment in yourself as well as your business. Some lead sources, they're better than others. Others convert higher than others, while others might cost less. It's about creating a strategy, giving that strategy some time, and staying consistent. So let's talk about a lot of lead sources. Let's talk about the pluses and minuses. And then in the end, I'm actually going to talk to you about how I actually built out my company and where I saw my success. And we're also going to talk about the lead sources that I found to be an absolute waste of time. And I'm also going to give you some of the biggest advice that could have saved me a ton of money if I had followed it over the years. Let's start off with the lesser expensive ones that ultimately are great to get your business started and growing. Oh, real quick, hey, it's Jeff Chubb, and I'm a recovering RE/MAX agent, then EXP agent, and now I'm partnered with Real. If you have any questions about my experiences, well, then know I'm an open book, and I'm ready to help. All confidentially, of course. And if you like the content, then I truly appreciate you considering subscribing. It's right down there. Slam that subscribe button, as well as the like button. Thank you. Now, the free lead sources are great, but the issue is that they really can't be scaled. So ultimately, they really aren't free because they suck up your most valuable commodity. It's your time. The easiest one is open houses. Oh, you don't have any listings? Well, I say this for pretty much all top producers. If you want to host an open house, we'll let you host one of our listings open houses. Top producers, we generally hate open houses. And it's a win-win for everyone. I've noticed, at least in our market, that fewer and fewer buyers come in the door as unrepresented, and the opportunity of the open house, well, it's diminished over time, but there are still some great opportunities there. Using your feet and door knocking. This is another freebie, well, almost freebie, is you should really have some type of literature to leave behind to the property owners that you door knock. Target a neighborhood around a listing that your firm listed in, not the neighborhood, and let neighbors know that your firm sold that house and ask them if they have any questions on the current market conditions. I can promise you that you will get some doors slammed in your face 100% without doubt. But if you come from a place of contribution and caring, then you will make some great contacts that sooner or later may just become a great resource for business. Again, the negative is that this is very time consuming. Let's write out the Century 21 Get Out Your Real Estate Career Started playbook. That was made back in, well, the 1980s, and this isn't a knock on Century 21, just a nod back to those good old days. Expireds and for sale by owners or FSBOs is another lead source. Now, you could bootstrap this one to be low cost, or you could make some investments into software that will actually help you leverage your time and ultimately make more contacts in a shorter period of time. There are many lead aggregators out there, but ones that kind of jump to mind are RedX or Vulcan 7 or maybe Espresso Agent. Again, the positives are that this is a relatively inexpensive lead source, but with a world of potential. The negative is that every new agent has been given this same playbook, and there are an infinite number of agents calling. And the more experienced ones can ultimately have a good leg up on the competition. But people have built their businesses on these two lead sources alone. You know what? Let's throw probate into the mix as well. There are probate lead aggregators out there that you can buy. You can cold call probate leads too. And for all three, expireds, for sale by owners, and probates, you can compound your return by also sending them mailers. If you were to add sending mailers into the equation, then you are obviously going to start increasing your expenses beyond the costs of, well, just that platform lead aggregator cost. And then there's just general cold calling. Again, you're going to need a platform for the data, and be careful with this one. But you can call around neighborhoods where you're calling to tell neighbors about a newly listed property or a property that your firm has put under agreement. Warning to the wise, pay attention to the do not call list. Those fines or mini lawsuit demands, they will add up. Then there are the referral companies. These are great opportunities, but while they're free in the beginning, technically they are ultimately one of the most expensive lead sources out there. Essentially what these referral companies do is they run ads to get a buyer or seller lead and then refer them out to the agent. These referral fees that they can demand range from 30 to 40% or even 50% I've seen. These leads will be sporadic. You won't necessarily get a consistent flow. These leads will go out to multiple agents, so you're going to be in competition, and you will need to provide constant updates to the referral companies. Examples of these lead sources are Referral Exchange, HomeLight, OpCity, UpNest, and Ojo. And there are many others. Another no-cost lead source is YouTube. Well, it's no cost to post content. Getting the equipment to film the content, that obviously takes a little capital. But the biggest drain on resources with this resource is, well, your time. But this can be an amazing resource and one that you can create evergreen content that could bring you leads years down the road. It's a lot of work. You need to be consistent and you need to give it a lot of time. All right, let's start talking about the lead sources that allow you to scale your business. I don't believe that a person can truly scale their business without paying for leads. Yes, they could easily become a $100,000 producer, no doubt. But when I say scale, I mean a quarter, half, or millions of dollars. The least expensive place that you can buy leads is our social media sites like Facebook. Now, you can very quickly fill a database with these leads, but these leads are generally higher up in the funnel. Now, I have found that the sweet spot is about 2 years from the thousands and upon thousands of Facebook leads that I've bought over the years. In other words, this is a long-term play. This is not an immediate gratification lead source, and it needs to be worked. Your CRM better be on point. And it does make sense, right? Think about how you get a Facebook lead. It's from someone scrolling and seeing an ad and then clicking it. It's passive lead generation. What I mean by that is that the consumer isn't making any intentional action. A lead simply got a pretty ad put in front of them that piqued their interest and they went click. And then they're Google or Bing pay-per-click leads. Now, these leads will actually cost more than Facebook leads and are ultimately considered a higher quality lead than Facebook. And that makes sense. Remember how I was just talking about how Facebook leads are passive? Well, pay-per-click leads, they're the direct opposite. This is a lead source from someone that went onto Google and typed in a very specific phrase like Boston homes for sale or condos for sale near me. Google will give a response to the search question with 3 sponsored links as the initial result. These sponsored links are pay per click. If the leads click on one of the sponsored ads, then you pay for that click. And you hope that the lead funnel that you have in place on your website will be able to capture that lead. Did you catch that? On your website. So you not only are paying for the click and the lead, but you're also paying for a high quality and high conversion website. These leads are longer term nurture leads. There will be some that will convert sooner, no doubt, but the real return on these leads are as they hit a year to a year and a half. If you nurture them, then there is a fortune to be made here. And now we're going to talk about organic leads, which you're probably thinking, wait, why would you put organic under the Facebook and Google leads? I don't know. It just seemed right because organic is a ton of upfront work. Yes, I guess you could do this yourself if you know what you're doing, but most people hire someone to do the search engine optimization. It can sometimes take months or even years to see a result, and there is no guarantee. So it's a big investment, but the reward, it can be enormous. I'll use my website as an example. Currently, I'm receiving a little over $9,000 a month in free traffic. This actually was down from close to $11,000 a month free traffic just a month or so ago. But the hardest part is that you don't really have a lot of control for what you rank for. I get a lot of leads that are out of my service area, which are at least referral opportunities, I guess. Then you have companies like Ylopo who offer a front-facing website and then will drive traffic to the website by using Google pay-per-click and Facebook. They will charge you a platform fee plus, obviously, the cost of the leads. A company like Ylopo is definitely more than just generating leads. They have things like artificial intelligence for text follow-up as an example. It's a better solution for the folks who may use a CRM like Follow Up Boss and don't have that front-facing website. Working our way to the most expensive leads come to the real estate portals like Zillow, Realtor.com, Homes.com, or even Realty.com. These leads are more expensive because the leads generally are closer to that bottom of the funnel. These are leads that haven't typed in Quincy Homes for sale. They actually went to the website to look at homes. While browsing a bunch of houses, they found one that they really liked and either hit that request more information button or schedule a showing button. Again, these leads are very expensive. If you don't have a proven follow-up process and aren't a dog with a bone when it comes to a new lead, then these leads, they're not right for you. How expensive, you ask? Well, it depends on the area. As a great example, recently I saw that a single lead was $1,500 in one of the most expensive neighborhoods in Boston. Like I said, they're expensive. But because these leads are lower on the funnel, there is a good chance that they actually buy the house that they requested showing for, and it'll generally have a shorter lead origination to actual purchase cycle. Farming a neighborhood or neighborhoods can be very expensive, and it can take quite a while to garner a return. But the longer you do it, then the bigger the return. There's a recipe for success when it comes to farming. It's called monthly. Anything less will just mean that you're ultimately throwing your money down the drain, and expect it to take 12 months for you to break even on the farm. But if you can make it through the first year, if you can stay consistent and continue on the path, then this can become a gold mine of business for you. I have this as a further down lead source because in the beginning, the cost is aggressive and there is a lot of hope and a lot of praying. Is there a few ways to know that advertisements are making an impression in the beginning? And keep in mind that there is a lot that goes into a farm before you even send out that first mailer. Then there's radio and TV. And I guess we can throw in advertising on podcasts in today's world. I've done radio and TV advertising, but never have done podcasts, so can't talk a whole lot about podcasts on this one. The issue that I see with podcasts is that the advertisements are not local. Now, the cost of these lead sources, TV and radio, will actually depend on the market. I'm in the Boston market, which is one of the most expensive advertising areas in the country. Painfully expensive. This is another long-term play. Whatever the monthly budget is, you need to have the means and the discipline to at least give it 6 months. And the budget needs to be big enough to ensure that you're getting enough impressions. One commercial once per day, that's not going to cut it. You need to flood the airwaves, especially in the beginning. Now, I was spending more than $20,000 a month on TV advertising, and I failed. It was because I couldn't get to scale with enough impressions to imprint my message with the consumer. It was hard to when each spot was $750. Now, the returns from these lead sources, they can be slow. They are expensive. But once you've gotten to scale, once you've gotten to a point where you have penetrated the market, where the consumer knows who you are, then that's when it becomes a lot of fun to a marketer. Now, I started a new market where I didn't have any sphere of influence, so I had to utilize a lot of these lead sources that I've talked about today. At this point, I really think I've pretty much done it all in all different types of lead sources. Maybe not every company out there, but every type. In the beginning, I really got my start with a good CRM and Craigslist. Now, I would post ads on Craigslist and get leads, which I'd put in my CRM and start sending them houses. Today, Craigslist isn't what it used to be, but there's a lot of opportunity with Facebook Marketplace. My expenses in the beginning were a CRM. That's it. Those were the days. From there, it gave me the capital to where I could actually start investing in my business in a more predictable way. I moved to Google pay-per-click leads, then Zillow leads, and Realtor.com leads, and then Facebook leads. My business today looks a lot different than what I started with. My lead generation has morphed into a lot of organic leads through Google and Bing, as well as YouTube. I do some Google pay-per-click, but I'm spending more money on seller lead generation than buyer, as my database has grown to over 30,000 leads. I also did a lot of farming there towards the beginning, and I was actually really successful with that. I don't use Zillow anymore. They are extremely expensive leads where I believe that you can make the numbers work if you're getting 100% of the commission, but it begins to get a lot harder when you're splitting it 50% with a buyer agent. I found that a lot of times I was breaking even, and if I was lucky, then maybe I would have a 1.5 times or possibly a 2 times ROI. You can't build a long-term successful business on a 1.5 times return on investment. It's just not a great use of your business capital. I find there are a lot of agents, and I don't just think it's us agents, it's all business people who are chasing the next best and greatest thing. But in our world, there are a million companies that are barraging us each and every single day with the next thing. Constantly, they're calling this thing. And us agents, we chase many of these shiny objects. I can't begin to tell you how many times I've signed up for a service because another agent that is a friend of mine signed up and told me how amazing the new company was. Here is some of the biggest advice that I can give you. When that agent calls and says this is the next greatest thing, if they've just started it, then say it sounds good. Take a look at it, write it down in your calendar to recheck it with them in 6 months. Ask them then how it's going, what their experience has been, and most importantly, what is their return on investment. This advice alone will save you a bloody fortune. The amount of squirrels that I've chased over the years, Realtor.com alone actually, that one cost me $60,000 to chase off of a fellow agent's recommendation. Some other advice is pick one source and master it. Once you've mastered it, then go to the next. Don't have 10 lackluster lead sources. Commit and dominate. And then, if it works, don't stop doing it. As I was putting all this together, I started thinking about my farm and asking myself, why the heck did I stop doing it? It was producing. It wasn't the most amazing ROI, but I couldn't imagine what it would be like if I was still doing it today. If you're having success, then stick with it. Optimize it. Squeeze a bigger return out of it. And then only when you have truly maximized it, that's when you move to the next thing. A good chunk of my database are Facebook leads. I can remember the months that I was delivering more than 1,000 leads per month. It was crazy. I think the most impressive thing was that my systems, they actually held up. Systems are so important, ultimately something that I'm going to talk about in the future video, because lead generation without a good system, it's just a waste of money as well as your time. Now, the hard part of talking about what lead sources are crap and which ones are great is because different lead sources will perform differently in different markets. A great example of this for me is ZBuyer. In my market, it was pretty much 100% buyer leads, and they were crappy buyer leads. But I have a friend in other markets where they get seller leads and have an incredible ROI. The big thing is just look at how the company is generating leads. Are they just basically doing Google pay-per-click and then charging you a premium for the lead? If so, then just go directly and cut out that middleman. I've also a general rule that I will not sign up with any marketing company that calls me. I get about 327 of these calls per week. It drives me up the wall. I'm very cautious about a lead source as a set time for a contract. To me, this is a great indicator that they don't have faith in their product panning out in the first couple of months. And then also be cautious about companies that charge a setup fee. Sometimes a setup fee makes sense, but other times I think it's just a big revenue generator. Oh, and a Facebook page. It's a complete waste of time. No one is using your services because there's a pretty Facebook page. Lead generation is the lifeblood of our business. Perfect lead generation and find the thing that works best for you, and you will always keep the blood flowing. Again, it's Jeff Chubb. You can reach me at 617-775-7687. And all my other contact information, it's in the description below right down there. Until next time.